It's in the allocation list, but it doesn't exactly match the allocation list. There's a little bit of a discrepancy as far as what's funded and unfunded.
We can.
But we'd like to ask that the board take some action just to help us by adopting the ending allocation, which is the 293 number, eliminating the 80 positions, and then we can bring you back a revised.
What do you mean take action? We can't take action today, so, right?
I was under the impression
Only by making it an immediate action. You can approve things in the budget hearings for immediate action. But I would, I think we need to make the allocation list and the request today match.
You got Andrea Coolin, Senior Behavioral Health Manager for Behavioral Health. I just wanted to explain that basically when we started out to project our position needs for the next fiscal year, what we did is we took what we currently have filled, which is 213, and then we projected how many we would need for the vacant funded positions we would need for the year 08-09, and that was the 79 positions. And so overall, from our total allocation from 07-08, we will have a 80.15 reduction. But we kind of looked at it differently and weren't taking into consideration our vacant funded from 07-08 at the time when we were doing our budgeting. We just took our current bill and projected our needs and then came out with our total. So that's why it didn't lend itself quite so neatly to this format, but all the previous documentation leading up to this budget hearing.
Exclusive of extra help, then you are looking at 213 currently filled positions.
They are currently filled at this time.
Yes, I mean
Give or
that's
take one or two.
I'm not counting extra help or anything like
That's
that. But
correct.
you have 213 full-time.
213 of these 293.
Yes.
Okay, there's your number, Joe.
Okay.
So you have, of the 293, you have 80 positions there that are not filled?
Of the
Or is there some extra
293,
help in there?
there'll be 79 positions that will go into the fiscal year vacant funded. But from our current 07-08 allocation, that's where you see the 80 reduction.
All right, so we have an 80 reduction, plus there's still 79 jobs that are funded vacant.
That we're asking to have, funded.
That will be funded
Yes,
vacant.
we are not.
Should we adopt this?
Should you adopt it?
Yes.
And I would say that this for me, I don't see doing this. I'm not sure how. I don't recall that we've done these types of things on these days. Perhaps this needs to come back on, put on the agenda and do it that way.
Yeah. Just by way of an explanation, prior to the adoption of the budget, the board can, outside of the adoption, take action on something that's before it, but it doesn't take effect unless the board votes that it take effect immediately. Otherwise, anything you do in the adoption of the budget doesn't take effect until the adoption of the budget.
Here's one of the problems that we're running into. Because as we did our budget, we put our budget all together, we have done it we put our budget together with all the new positions, allocated at certain levels. And so what's happening, because the old budget, the budget that we're operating with right now, has all the old job descriptions or all the old titles, the old allocation list, and the new budget that we have submitted to you has all of the new information, has all the new allocations budgeted at the top level and that sort of thing. We're kind of in no man's land for recruiting, and we have been for quite some time. It's one of the reasons why we have so few positions right now filled, and we have so many vacant funded positions, is because our hiring has come almost to a complete stop for the last several months, number of months. And so until we have some action, until that's adopted, we pretty much are in no man's land in terms of hiring.
Well, why didn't you do that last month?
Why didn't we come in last month? Because it was believed that the appropriate place to do this was at the budget process.
Okay.
Good answer.
That is the appropriate time to do it. However, that means you just wait until the budget's adopted.
Well, can this be done at a regular board meeting before the budget's adopted. You're gonna bring to us the next Tuesday, I think you said?
Yeah, and actually, I need to talk to you about that. Since Ralph will not be here next week, I would recommend that we not bring the proposal to balance until the 24th.
Okay. All right.
Well, we can entertain this one.
Yes, it's been put on the table, so to speak, at this point, so of course you can.
Well, I'm not sure.
Time sensitive, is it?
Well,
It is?
they
Can we
indicate
put this
that.
on as an
We
emergency
can't
item?
give out personnel requests that are pending because there's no allocation there, so this
I-
would correct the situation.
Well, my concern is I don't see it listed anywhere on this agenda that's posted. All right, that's my concern is are we following the process and doing it, because this is taking action on an item that's not listed. And that's my concern.
We have in past years, at this meeting, passed some action relative to
You have.
to this, analogous to this.
Anything that's presented here, you can vote to tentatively approve in the budget. Beyond that, it takes a 4/5 vote to say we want it to be effective immediately and not when the budget is adopted.
All right?
And I guess the only other thing is to make sure that we remind ourselves of the Brown Act and that everything that's on this agenda, everything that we're dealing with today in this meeting has to be on our agenda. It can be there in general terms, doesn't have to be just really, really specific, but it should be a general description of whatever you're discussing and taking action on.
Well, into that light, Mr. Rude, thank you for that.
These allocations are on the allocation sheet that is in the budget.
Yes, but not exactly like presented today. And I don't see listed on here Mike Horn listed at all, or behavioral health. Just in terms of, just it's in the budget book, you know.
Listed under health and sanitation.
Actually, you're not.
Okay, well.
You're not, there's no
I
others.
just assumed everybody would realize that was part of sanitation.
Well, I'm sorry, no, Mike, you're not.
Nice try,
I
nice
can't
try.
accept that, the sanitation, but the health part, yes. It's just not listed. That's my particular problem with this, is it's not listed, and the process is we've waited this long. I know you've been in the bind for this, but we can agendize this for a week from tomorrow, and then do it in that manner so it's listed and there's no question then about that we follow them.
And I would respectfully disagree. These are budget hearings, at which time the public, department heads, anyone that has any say about this budget are invited to get up and give testimony or provide information, and that's exactly what Mr. Horn has done. So it is appropriate to discuss it. The next question of whether you want to make a decision of whether you should vote to make it effective immediately, that is allowed prior to the adoption of a budget. I'm
Right.
not
We can do that.
sure that is appropriate.
We can do that today.
You could do that if you wanted to.
And the language in
I
reference
think
to the
it's a
Brown
little,
Act.
I think it's a little fuzzy, though, as to what is actually being talked about. I would prefer that you not take that action today until we can take the information that has just been handed out and make it agree with what has been submitted in the position allocation list that you have in your backup, so that we're all clear what we're actually saying is yes to. I think it's a little, I would like it to be a little cleaner than it is right now.
What I would like is since this will be lived certainly into the future, Mr. Cordova, would you like to you have this set over so that you would be here present during the future discussion? We certainly, not this next week, but the week after, I think you said the 24th. And would you like to be, have that?
Roberta and I had, over lunch, we were talking about some issues that were brought forth by the board, and I think it'd be appropriate to not try to force this thing along, but certainly make every effort to consider everything the board says and bring it back on the 24th, and even by the 24th, we might be ready.
Well, I think on this deal, I'm not sure I don't have any problem with what you presented, Mike, or myself, personally speaking. I'm fine with this. I think most everybody here is fine with it. I don't hear unless there's some disagreement,